Good evening. Preparing to go live now. Maybe we need to introduce some music here. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, now we are at the diversity show at the UDP TV and media. Welcome, Mr. Goswell. Welcome all the viewers today. We are on the diversity show as usual. Today we're going to, talk in English mainly, and then try to translate what we talk about. We're going to finish the part 2 of the history, and then go and talk about the 5-point agenda and the manifesto quickly before we wrap it this evening. So I beg your pardon. We apologize for coming in late. We went to the wrong place first, wrong page, and now we're back to the UDP TV and media. Welcome, Mr. Goswell.
Oh, thank you very much, Kejao. It's once again an honor to be on this forum. As you said, this is part 2. The history is quite long, but we will try and streamline it a bit so that we can address the salient points. If we want to talk about the history of UDP, we can go till the next month or so, because it's quite detailed. So as I say in English, me famble them with the tell all I'll do. Last week we come here, we've been talking to now about how the party starts. We don't go to the first part now, we come to the second part now to come explain further. But as I say, if you want to talk all about the party, it will take me till next month, because now boku information we will talk about. We will follow the party. Since then we know say the party it get history. So mamboki Gambia ni mangle nan yu di len gerem te mangle gerem askan bi nak ñu am nañ ñoo toppa nak di déglu lu ñoo wax fi man ma suma xarit muy Kejao Touré. Ñun tey nag dañ bëgg a jekkali luñ doon waxtaan ci mbirim parti bi, fan la parti bi dooree te fan la nekk tey. waaye bañ ko defee last week dañ eggoon ci fu nga xam ne foofu lañ fa new rek ne next week bii dinañ ko continuer. waaye niñ war nañ ko continuer nag dañ bàyyi suñ xel ne su nekkee lañ bëgg a wax yëpp du jeex tey. léegi parti bi ma nekk parti buñ sos for almost ñaari fukka juróomi at. loolu lu bari la te su nekkee yaa ngi ko ne danga ko bëgg a wax loolu loo ko wax ci ñaari fan loolu danga ko jëlee wax ko ci benn weer sax te doo ko te benn tey dafa des. waaye benn tey nag dinañ góorgóorlu wax si lu nga xam ne moo nekkoon lu gën a important, lu gën a tax suma maa si benn tey fallu ne UDP dorom ne gisuma benn parti boo xam ne jaral na ma ko gannaaw UDP. ndig dama leen toppa lu gaay doon def, dama jàngalu tuuti lu gaay doon def, xaw ma yëpp nag waaye lu tuuti lu ma xam su nekkee nit laaj na ma ko mun naa ko waxtaan yow. te Kejao daf ma indi fii mu ne ma waxtaan ko yéen te foofu laa em nag. so Kejao sa kàddu la.
ala baraka mbaɗin gambiyanolu, ala baraka mbaɗin mandinkolu, mbaɗin mandinka polalu, mandinka moylalu, anin gambiyanol be mbal be konton na al toldimal nal konton dimal la comme dimanche kan atali jan nyamen sa mbala sa fala alla fal afali nal do mandin saje ganna mol fanal soto milia lon ko mo mandinka e buka mo suwa e man angale kan moy baba ke ye kandol la karang saje se ko farama se to le ka men discourse kan jang ba même fo ja wolon ko UDP boto nan nyamen a commencé ta nyamen sanni mu wonni lulu ko ma birin sojarol nata ye jawara man sakunda bay fangol sita diakuya ye patiol ban pour wol kanalo après birin election biri fana lafta lola election ola biko ye patiol be ban fatuta doy na doje patiol be kafta nyoma nata e ko ngalna mo kilinjibe ye mo saba tombong mo sabol kono diamuto modol ye wol man sonko diamuta mo saba nyango men kita ongulu cheno dabati asonta. So now we all explain kan andu ye bata men taki biri lota the time difference mendila and the time the dame wala dental bridge so mbetambe wala mbolto kuma foka nimbo to mbe dem fana discourse la wala 5-point agenda nying and manifesto kariyari ke yo la baraka. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Goswell.
Oh, thank you very much. As you were asked, you did ask about what happened after the Denton Bridge massacre. Yeah. As I said to you, a lot of our supporters were badly assaulted by the soldiers, and it's been reported that AFPRC members were involved, particularly the convicted Yankuba Ture and Edward Singate and others were involved. It has been alleged that they were involved in the massacre, of which some UDP supporters were badly injured. I gave you the example of the guy who was the drummer, traditional drummer.
Yeah, DJ boy.
Yeah. I'm also give the example of Rohi Malik Lo was assaulted. Amadou Sane was also assaulted. Sidia Sanyang and many others sustained injuries. In fact, Amadou Sane was arrested straight away. And if you listen to his testimony before the TRRC, he did explain to you what actually happened. But the explanation which the AFPRC then gave to the media was that UDP were involved in sort of a violent acts, and it was sort of trying to repel them from not exceeding. But that's not true, because it was a one-way attack on UDP, because by then the campaign was heated, and it was a very, very toxic campaign, because UDP came out with the allegations which no one there had the audacity to say. UDP were the first to go on a political platform and publicly talk about the death of Koro Sise. In fact, that was something which I have a newspaper cuttings, which unfortunately I should have brought out, of which Edward Singate reported the issue to Gabriel Roberts, accusing the United Democratic Party of breaching the campaign rules. And Gabriel Roberts replied back and said, the issue about Koro Sise is a national issue. And if any politician brings it up, they should not be persecuted, or it should not be, it's a national concern, to quote it. So you can see from that moment, there was this fear that if Usinudaba wins, they bring an end to meritocracy, and if Usinudaba wins, some people will be prosecuted, for crimes which they committed. So this was the reason why the military were very much heavy-handed with UDP. And it went on even after the elections. It took a while before Usinudaba, Syria, Sanyang for them to settle to their normal lives, because they were seeking refuge in one of the embassies because of security reasons. Although some people tried to caricature that strategy which they took, but in all fairness, their life was at risk. And that was the only thing they could have done. And it became clear that other people were arrested and were not detained and were not released. For instance, Keme Sengjame, Sia Kasonko, Seni Sabali, and many others were detained at Janjambure, and some were detained in other enforcement units. Now, for UDP to participate in the elections, next parliamentary elections, which was 3 months later, there was a push and pull on whether they will participate. And for the benefit of history, when UDP said they were not good, they were thinking of boycotting, there was a small party that was founded, that was registered in IEC, but that party died a natural death. and it was called the Gambia People's Democratic Party. I don't know if people know about it, but that party was found, and that party was going to be put up so that it doesn't suppress or undermine the legitimacy of having of the boycott.
Yeah.
So people don't know about that, but there was a party that was founded. But that party,
by who?
Well, the guy is a Banjulian, but even the name is all been erased off. I will need to do a research on it to find the full details. But people who followed the election at the time, after the election, a political party was founded, and that political party was going to be found. It was going to be set up to participate in the National Assembly elections, just in case UDP did not participate.
Yeah.
So there was negotiations going on. Letters were sent, conditions on how the election should be conducted, parliamentary elections conducted. It was a heated one that went for far too long. And there was a public outcry that UDP should participate in the National Assembly elections. And they did list out several conditions for them to participate. One of them, which I said last week, and I'll repeat again, is that they say they will not participate unless and until all political detainees were released. So you can see that that was a big one, and it did refer to the likes of Hussein Ujai, Uncle Hussein Ujai, Uncle OJ, and Uncle Lamin Juara, and Uncle MC Champ. So those were the last bit of people that had to be released together with the military detainees. So we had a parliamentary elections. Yeah, as I said. We went to the parliamentary elections, we selected candidates. People went for it because we thought that if we have candidates in parliament, we'll be able to control the parliament, and by controlling parliament, we'll make sure that Jammeh could not do things that he wanted to do. Some will say it was a failure. I will say no.
Yeah.
Because for the first time, the United Democratic Party, for the first time, an opposition party, since 1966, had more than 6 seats.
Yeah.
One opposition party. We last had that during the day in 1966. We never had that in 1972 when PS Njai stood for UP. We never had that when Sirdiwa had the best in 1992. So UDP set a record of having 7 seats. And last week I did make an error. It wasn't Bambanding Dafe wasn't elected. Bambanding Dafe was elected in 2003. 2002. So the MPs that were elected at the time were Demo by Force, Omar Kebamas, Sidi Amankanji, Buba Sumara, Kemeseng Jammeh, and Almami Toure, and lastly, Kemeseng Jammeh. They went to parliament and they made Kemeseng Jammeh as the minority leader. Now, in the 1970 constitution, it did provide that you will have a leader of government business, which was normally the vice president, and opposition leader, which was the leader of the opposition, biggest opposition parliament. But this time, that was not in the constitution, so they came up with what we call standing orders. And the standing orders did say that they will have a minority leader and a majority leader.
Yeah.
Because we changed the constitution in such a way that we don't have the British system whereby you can be leader of the opposition and leader of government business being a cabinet minister.
Yeah.
We have a system whereby it was strictly separation of powers, like the American system. So what happened is we had the majority leader. The majority leader was Tamsir Jallow.
Yeah, it was in a parliamentary system. Yeah, it became
yes. So that's what
presidential system. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had 7. United Democratic Party had one. Sorry, the Independent had one candidate.
NRP.
NRP had two. PDOIS had one. Wulom Jallo was the independent candidate that won the Nyamena West seat. And NRP won a seat in Jara or Kiang, and won a seat at Lower Salum. And then Sidia Jata won the Woolly seat. By then, Woolly was only one seat, but now we have two seats, Woolly West, Woolly East. So that's how it happened. Now, the UDP became very, very active and did utilize 5 years intensive political education, which meant rallies were held every other month, and which meant also that UDP toured the country every year. But in so doing, there were still setbacks. As I speak to you now, a person like the name of Wasajane, who stood at Combo Central, one of our youngest candidates at the time, was a target. He was detained on the 20th of February 1997 alongside a man called Dembo Karang Bojang of Birkama. And they were accused of misconduct at polling stations. So after the elections, when everything was finished, APRC or the Jame regime still went for UDP supporters. And as a result, they were constantly harassed, arrested, and even sometimes detained for indefinite periods. So Osinodawa was constantly in the courts, applying for habeas corpus. So the case of Wasajane became a very popular case, which even the Interrights, an international organization called Interrights UK, did report it as part of the cases of right freedom of assembly. But the interesting bit of it, the sad bit of it, I don't say interesting, is that UDP had other instances which were very unfortunate. The arrest of Shingul Nyasi, Yusuf Acham, Sajo Kunjang Sane, Dembo Arab Bojang, and many others was quite unfortunate. Because this was the time when they were arrested for only organizing a regional congress, and were arrested, taken to a military barracks or whatever, and mercilessly tortured. This was the beginning where we started seeing UDP supporters being targeted and tortured. And at that time, complaints were made even at the international committee level for this case to be investigated. It saddens me that this case was not reported at the TRC commission.
Yeah.
Because it's one case which, although some of the assailants are no longer alive, but this was state-sponsored terrorism or torture.
Yeah. And it was the start of
it was very sad.
Yeah.
And it did not stop there, because Shingul Nyasi was arrested on numerous occasions. Shingul Nyasi will go on a UDP rally and say something, whether factual or not, he will be arrested. And then we'll have to go through the petitions or the habeas corpus and
Why was
requested.
he targeted? Do you know why was he targeted? Was it because he's from Pune and because
Well, you got to understand that Sigur Nyasi was the only candidate that stood in Fonyi in the 1997 elections. Even though he did badly, he had only 226 votes. He was a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely.
Because he was the president of the national youth wing of UDP, and his politics dates back from the time when he was in PPP. So he was very, very active and very, very resolute. The problem they had with Sigur Nyasi was, here you have a defiant Jola who was ready to support UDP at all costs.
Yes.
And that did not go down well with Jammeh and his cohorts. So Sigur Nyasi will be arrested, tortured, release. Arrested, tortured, release. And it was a continuous thing going on until they realized that they can't break him and they just let him go. The thing also happened to Dudu Kasajata, who's also a brother to Rambo, the same thing. He was very resolute, and as a result, they couldn't break him down. And he kept being a thorn in the flesh for them by being very vocal. So these were the things that used to happen at the time when the going was very tough. There were times when the police authorities would not give UDP permits. UDP will do all what it requires by law, and on the 11th hour, they will say, I'm waiting for the Inspector General to sign the permit, just to stall the process. Now, we all talk about Fast Njaga Choi. Every people talk about Fast Njaga Choi, but I'm afraid there were events before that which showed Mr. Dabo was so resolute. Because there was one rally that was held in Banjul, of which the late FRI Jammeh decided, FRI Jammeh was the IGP, decided that he was going to cancel the rally. They already had the rally in Banjul, and FRI Jammeh ordered one of his police officers to disrupt the rally. And Hussein Dabo was resolute. So when I hear people say Fast Njaga Choi, I say, well, yes, Fast Njaga Choi, yes. But it started in Banjul when we had that rally in 1998 or 1999. So these are things that the party went through. Then 1999, we kept on. I don't know of any significant thing that happened. Yes, something happened, yes. We were supposed to have our Congress, and out of the blue, Lamin Wajuara was arrested about the incident at the Birkama Mosque. So Lamin Wajuara, even though was made the propaganda secretary, could not attend our first Congress, which was held in Birkama, because he was under detention alongside the Imam of Birkama, Central Birkama, Alaji Karamo Ture. They were all arrested, and it's a case that went on for some time. Lamiwa Juara was tortured by talks of the APRC. The other event also happened when they were discussing the decentralization program. The decentralization program, which was held at Mansa Konko, of which Lamin Wajuara was our representative. To our disappointment, in the presence of Gambian delegates, some youths from what we call the APRC or July 22, in the presence of delegates, came in and ordered Lamin Wajuara to leave the premises. Not only the premises, but to leave the entire area, all the way throughout LRR. He was supposed to be banished.
Led by Baba Joe.
Yes, yes. We didn't know about the true story until when we had our by-election in 2000 in Kiang when somebody by the name of Fabakari Kolio admitted that he was instructed by talks of the APRM July 22 movement wing that they were instructed to disperse Wajuara from the premises. So that's what happened to 2000. Not much happened until we came up with this idea of having an alliance. The alliance was between PPP, GPP, and UDP.
Yeah, the 2001 election.
Yes, and what happened was Asa Musa Kamara was the chairman of the coalition committee, and we did unveil Usain Dabo as our candidate at the grand rally held at Birkama. But after the elections were held, of which we lost, our supporters were persecuted again. But in the interim, there's so much we can talk about what happened in that period, because hopes were high that we were going to win the elections. But unfortunately, the mechanism for having a united front was not there, because GPP was not a registered party. GPP did not register, whereas only PPP was the one that registered. So it was technically, de facto, it was a PPP UDP coalition. Went to that election with high hopes, but unfortunately, it became very violent, and we lost. The downside was it that Mr. Dabo did concede defeat at the earliest opportunity, and that did not go down with the supporters. In fact, I am made to understand that Lamin Wajuwala was not happy with such conceding defeat so early. And the mere fact that Mr. Dabo showed decency and being sincere, APRC made a mockery of it. To the point that when Yaya Jammeh was sworn in on the 21st of December 2001, Mr. Dabo was not even invited to grace the occasion, which would have been something you expect from a politician that has conceded defeat. The downside of it was we were expecting UDP to come up and contest the 2002 general elections. Hopes were high, but to my disappointment, I will have to say it didn't happen, because I was in Banjul looking forward to the elections. So if you look at the results then, UDP won so many seats in presidential seats in Basse, in the URR area. And people are saying it was largely due to the assistance or support of the late Hussein Unjai. We won Basse. Basse constituency, we won that one. I think we won Tumana, and we won Jimara. So we did very well in the year, but the sad thing is that we did not contest for the parliamentary elections. And that became a wasted opportunity.
Absolutely.
So, in Creole, what I mean the talk, so I explain for Una what happened from 1996 to 2000. And you can see, say the party did a lot, do plenty things we say. There are some books them, there are some newspapers them. If you follow the process, you're gonna say the party did very well. Because I talk about this situation where they sit on, they keep compensate, they want to make Congress. They make Congress, BO, they don't call them police for me, they arrest them, get them go on a barrack and give them good beats. lu ma wax fi mooy di ko gën a leeral mooy jamono 1996 after bañ amee post woote bi bañ foog ne fu mu nekk ni yëpp jeex na dara jeexutoon benn tey ñu ngi doon fitnal ñu nga xam ne ñu ngi nekkoon UDP teg ci wax naa fi kenn ku ñoo o wasa caane ku nga ne jàpp nañ ko ñaari yoon wax naa fi mbirim Yusufa Caam ku nga xam ne ndaanaan la te nekk Kombo North moo nekk léegi di regional chairman for Western Division wax naa dem si yàlla Momodou Singul Ñaasi wax naa fi suma benn jigéen ku baax ku ñoo o Sadio Kujang Sale maire bu gore waay te maire bu faloon ñu bëggoon UDP kooku jaay jàpp nañ ko dóor ko dig lan dañ doon toog ñu ne dañoo am métier wax naa fi nag ne mbirim Fass Njaga Coy nekkul lu ees waaye musoon naa am Banjul boo xam ne amoon benn rallye bu ñu waroon a am UDP war a am rallye bi FRI Jammeh dem si yàlla si yan na ko yàlla yërëm yónni ay soldat ne fii rallye du fi am waaye Ousseynou Dako won ne moom góor la te bañkat la mu siisu mu ne foog ñu am rallye bi loolu nag mu ngi nekk ci ay cassette bu ma amoon te loolu nag naa ko jox Kéjaaw benn bés mu firil na campagne boobu nag ca jamono boobu nag lañ toog di ko wéyal ne Dabo is our leader, we shall not be moved woy boobu foofu lañ ko génne parce que la xewoon foofu mooy amoon na ay jàmbaar ñoom Anta Samba ñoo taaw ñu ñoom duñ dem fen ñoo yenn la fi foofu yëpp loolu yëpp xew na ci mbirum UDP. Over to you, Kéjaaw.
Yo mbaɗin mandinkolo kay mba translate dal triyaringe alhako boyndiñe fitiroɓe si wallantolla jan sayin mbari mba triyala doronga translate hali quand même fo no wolam ko biri abuto 1996 election ola tel ngamira nun ko fitinoɓe bantale nun fitinoɓe yalo ko APR sinkoliya ala UDP ka kan bari amam bannun ya continuer le Mr. Goswell mo jamal to fo jang wasa jane nyolu kata Sadio Kunjang sane nyolu wol haniwo ya jamenala bandiolu kana ka boy wol kan ke lipa ka kujamal kela bari kamen fo ka fo fas jaga choy man ke ko wolum fo wat follow ti mealon ko UDP kol man song moy sembo jayi kan akatale num banju num follow Jamal Lota Anta Sambanyol Lota ko manta Dawda to Dawda wato men Fara Jammeh ay kipiyala ay polisol commande pour wol UDP ko janjandi watara ko ay permito so already waya Dabo Lota ka manta Dawda wala na yodenki lola ka boko Dabo mun na leader manta Dawda so abo wala fo kam fonnade 2001 kono 2002 so ko nga triadro nga translate na moli triadi gedro yo bala commento ko la mola ni mo moy so Sirif the great said I thought Hussein Njai was arrested. Yeah, Hussein Njai was arrested, but he was released in 19 I think those are the questions they're asking. So I'm trying to reply to him that he was arrested, but he was released in 1997, 1996, 97, when UDP said they were not going to go for elections unless all the political prisoners are released. Lamin Konate says he's watching. Jalan Kinte says good evening. Great show, Sirif the Great. Yeah, thank you very much. So over to you, Mr. Goswell. Go ahead, please.
All right. So where we are now, we're 2001,
2002.
2022. Okay, you got to understand that in 2002, we did not participate in the elections.
Can I take 2 minutes as you continue? Yeah? Can you continue whilst I take...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
You got to understand that we did not participate in 2002 elections. And as a result, for the first time, APRC had a lot of seats. The only seats that the opposition won were the seat in Lower Salum by Hamad Bah, won a seat in Serekunda by Halifa Saleh, and we won a seat in Wuli by Sidia Jatta. So there were only 3 MPs in the opposition, of which Halifa Saleh was made the minority leader. And as a result, the whole process stalled. It took a while for UDP to come back and enter the political fray. But before that, we were still having rallies. And what actually happened is that we had the mayoral elections in 2003. Now, somebody who was a UDP member stood for the Banjul seat and won, Pasala Jeng, but he stood as an independent candidate. And as a result, the UDP were still looking at ways of which they can enter the political scene again. We had a by-election, Western Division. So we had a by-election, Lower River Division, as a result of Baba Job's conviction. And as a result, Kemese Jame won that seat. So what I was saying in your absence was, I mean, the UDP did not participate in the 2002 elections, and therefore there were only 3 seats which were occupied by DOI and NRP. And this was the first time Halifa Saleh was an MP for Serekunda, and this was the second time Sidia Jatta was an MP for Wuli. The same thing applied. Hamad Bah retained his seat, Salum. He defeated Senimbai again. Serifu Diba had an alliance with NCP, with APRC, for 2 seats. The seat was one in Fonyi Bintang, and also one in Bakau.
NCP, yeah?
Yes, they had an alliance. Whether you call it alliance or not, but it was just an alliance. And those 2 seats.
Tactical alliance, kind of.
And what actually happened in the end was Serifu Diba was compensated by being nominated to be the Speaker of the House. And that's how he became Speaker of the House.
And he was subsequently arrested, I think.
Yes, I'm coming to that. And then what actually happened was UDP realized everybody was a bit distraught the fact that UDP did not participate in the elections. People were distraught once, and the fact that it was a late decision. It was very late for them to make that decision, and everybody was saying, "Oh, they should have participated." And I think they realized that. And when they had the earliest opportunity at a by-election held at Jara West, following the conviction of Baba Job, they put up a candidate there. And to our delight, KMSM Jame won. So that's how it happened. So the election started, and we won that seat, and we went to win the Old Town seat in Bakau. This Rambo Jatta that you're saying now, APRC, he was our candidate against Basiru Gassama.
For the council seat,
council seat, he won that seat. And the beauty of it, he won the seat again for UDP. So he's won that seat twice as a UDP candidate. So in all fairness, we've made him a councillor on 2 occasions. Whatever he says about UDP, we've made him great inside Bakau.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes. But we started talking about how we can come together and form an alliance. And I'm made to understand that they were having debates. I think the thing that brought the change, the idea of having a coalition or an alliance, was because the 50+1 proviso in the Constitution was repealed. And as a result, it was essential that we had an alliance, because we were of the view that Jammeh could win the elections easily. But if we come together, we will defeat Jammeh. And then they came up with this National Alliance for Democracy and Development.
So you're saying initially the 50+1 was in the Constitution?
Yes. So they got rid of it, because if
the sheer number in the parliament.
Yes, they were able to do it. Now, going back, if I go back, I haven't said much about how our MPs, 3 MPs fared. But in all honesty, if we have to be fair to them, they did extremely well.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah.
Because
they saved the Constitution.
Well, the classic one was when they went against the Indemnity Act.
Yeah.
The Indemnity Act, as I understood it, as I read it when I was very young, was just to indemnify all activities that were committed during the events of 30th July and the aftermath. Now, what they did in 2002 was to extend it to indemnify those who took part in the students' massacre of 2000. Right? I found that very immoral, because the coup of the coup attempt in 1981 was not something that they could have controlled.
Yeah.
And they had to use reasonable force, and in using reasonable force, some people lost their lives.
No, that wasn't right as well. Right is just wrong is just wrong, Mr. Joshua.
Whereas in the April 2010, April 2000, that was an incident that could have been avoided.
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, all incidents could have been avoided. You could not they could have used reasonable force. I mean,
no, but listen, but in the case, what has happened in the case, we cannot compare the events of 81 coup.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. This one was an armed insurrection, and these are kids.
Yes.
You know, so the thing is this, but yeah, but I mean, they use the same act to indemnify themselves, try to indemnify themselves in the killing of Koros, he said.
But yes, that's what they did.
Yeah, you know, so that's why Yankuba thought he was covered.
Yeah. But that's different. That's different. What Yankuba did was, Yankuba was relying on the transitional schedules of the Constitution.
Yeah.
Paragraph 13.
Yeah.
That's what he was relying on. He was relying on that. And the beauty of it is that Kemeseng was brave enough to take that to court, of which our own Usain Odago was the lawyer in that case.
Really? Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's when the UDP saved the day.
Yes. And there were huge provisos in the Constitution, which he said they haven't gone through a referendum, you cannot change it. So the original Constitution did indemnify them for the coup. But any other actions, it must be lawful actions.
Absolutely.
So if a contract failed and all that stuff, you can't sue them.
Yeah.
But if something like a murder, torture, you can't be indemnified.
Absolutely.
And this was the issue which, unfortunately, Yankuba Ture and his lawyers misunderstood.
Yeah.
So, beauty of parliamentary democracy, beauty of our opposition, there were few of them, but they were brave enough to go to court and win a case.
Yeah, and they held the government to account. They put so many things in check.
Yes.
Until 2001. You know, it was up to 2001 when the Jammeh bunch together many military officers and kick them out.
Oh yes, because what he did was, it's good that you bring up that, because what Jammeh did was, after the 2001 elections, so many civil servants lost their jobs.
And military,
they were perceived as sympathizers of UDP.
And mainly they were just in the military. They were just probably mostly because they were Mandinkas. It was very unfortunate. Some of them, to be fair, stood their ground. In Farafenye, for instance, Keketa, he was called. I was the commander in Farafenye, and they told him to disperse because they went to attack the UDP convoy there, Baba Job. Just the same thing that he did. And then Keta was called. Keta told him, listen, these people are on tour. You are not supposed to be here. If you are here, we're going to arrest you. So because of that, they kicked him out as well, eventually. I had left UK before for UK well before then, though.
Yeah, but these are things that used to happen at the time. I mean, UDP were attacked every time. UDP supporters were losing their jobs. Some were arrested, some were detained. It became a normal. It was something that was normal. And that created the fear. And you had the inspector general alongside the Minister of Interior refusing to give us permits. Now, if you go through the court records, you will see a lot of cases where Mr. Dabo has gone to court to seek for judicial review for them against decisions to refuse them permits. Other parties had their permits, but UDP will not have their permits. And sometimes they will use this great phrase, national security. So when they say national security, the courts are not ready to give you permits. Understand? And it became a big, big problem. In fact, going back to 2000, the unfortunate death of Aliu Njai was a case where almost initially 90 of them were charged with murder. And then they streamlined it down to about 4. Usain Udabo, Real One Seka, and 2 others were charged with murder, and that case went on for over 2 years. So that was the main issue that happened during those days.
So there was a time when Jammeh started consolidating his powers.
Yes.
It was evident that so the boycott was very unfortunate. And then 2006 came, the NAD coalition.
NAD coalition came, and we were very hopeful, and unfortunately, there was a disagreement. In 2005, after winning so many by-elections, the hopes were very high that the NAD will do well. But unfortunately, there was a misunderstanding, and both Usain Dabo and Hamad Ba left the alliance. And they went and formed an alliance with UDP under the disguise of Alliance for Regime Change. So that was what it was called. And they campaigned, went for the elections. They won 23% of the vote. And NAD won, I think, 8% or 8 or 9%.
That's Khalifa's statistics that UDP was losing, because they won 37%. The first one, and then the second one about 30, 34, 35.
I think the problem with that people didn't go out. I think the truth of the matter is that people never went out. People said, what's the point?
Yeah, people were boycotting,
Jammeh is going to win.
Win anyway,
so nobody was motivated to go out and vote.
Because of lack of coalition. I mean, it was the same. It was subsequently the same 2011. And that's why 2006, we have to have a coalition that worked. 2016, there was when we had to have a coalition that worked. Otherwise, if it had disintegrated, then the Gambians would have boycotted. Because I think it's the Gambians who boycott elections, and that's why the numbers. And there were so many factors too. The Senegalese also helped close their border, and then the military, some elements in the military went and burnt the bureau in APRC's bureau, burning all the cards there. So there were many factors that I think it was time for God to deliver His people from tyranny.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with you, because what I saw was people were saying that it's time for a change. I think
Yeah.
people were looking at it and saying the fear no more. I mean,
Yeah.
there were so many factors which gave rise to 2016.
Yeah.
I mean, Usenola was in prison. The people were behind Usenola said, well, there's fear no more. We've got nothing to lose now. If somebody is ready to sacrifice that much, we're ready to do it.
Yeah.
And that really electrified the electorate.
Absolutely.
You've got to understand that whilst Usenola was going to court, they were still arresting UDP supporters, taking them to court as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Some were badly beaten up in the while they were some were arrested and charged.
Yeah, that kept the defiance. That's why Jammeh was angry and he went to that rally, started accusing Mandinkas of destabilizing the country. And that broke the camel's back.
Well, I was in Banjul then. I was in Banjul when that happened. I was there on a vacation, and I can remember when UDP are out, it's quite huge. So this is what used to happen, It's quite a huge event. Yeah.
So many factors there. So many factors.
Yes.
But then the important thing was that the diaspora were still, eventually they agreed, but still they were still saying, let's boycott. You cannot defeat the dictator at elections. Why are we doing this? Let's pick up arms.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It was quite incredible that the people went out and said, we are going to get you out.
Yeah.
Whatever. And the results on that day, that night, I was following the results at the time. I spent the whole night. Mama Lingard made me a guest or panelist and follow the results from Janjambure. And I immediately they called the results from Janjambure. I said, that's it.
We are winning.
That's it, we're winning. Because Janjambure is sort of a seat that, it can really give you indications. So watch out for the presidential elections. The results of Janjambure could be a decider. It will give you how the votes are going. And if we do badly at Jara Central, then you know that definitely we're not doing well. And then if
they can't divide us in Jara.
So this is what used to happen. This is what happened, basically. The history is, as I said, is quite. We've spoken for almost an hour now, and this is what happened. And when you look at it from the other angle, I talked about the parliamentary section of the UDP. It was very, very instrumental. Questions were asked. They were even more active than the APRC MPs. When ML Sane became leader of the minority leader, he did the same thing as well. He followed from where Kemeseng left. When you look at it, we lost 2 MPs in a car accident. They were very good. Buba Sumara of Kiang East, Abu Karamba Gassam of Central Badibu. These were very good, effective MPs that would put the government to account, ask them questions. These are all recorded in what I will call the Hansards, which students of history and political science should find time and go and read them, see the debates, how the debates were going on. Today I hear people say, oh, parliamentarians, they're going angale, they're not clever and all that stuff. But listen to the content of what they were delivering in parliament.
Yeah, even today it's the same. You think these people are not educated, but the substance is there.
The substance is there, precisely. It's a shame that we have this access to the media to the point that we do not want to appreciate what these people have been doing. Go and listen to the Hansards, the recordings of the Hansards.
I think there are many factors though to this, because one is that because we started scrutinizing the way they speak English and what they're talking about. So some of them just held back, because they don't want to go. And now you have so much media there. Before, people didn't care, you know. They would just talk. As long as you understand what they're saying, they don't care whether the English is okay or not, you know. So those are the factors. I think we have to encourage our parliamentarians to speak freely, you know.
Well, yes, the problem is our parliamentarians are not doing bad as compared to when the APRC MPs were there.
Absolutely, no.
I don't want to ridicule any one of them because English is not their first language.
Yeah.
That's why me and you in the UK, they normally ask, is English his first language, you know? Yeah. It's not your mother tongue.
Yeah.
So you're trying to speak something that you only say at limited occasions.
Yeah.
Understand? You only say it when you're doing transactions. So it's not going to be the way the Queen's English type.
Absolutely.
Yes, because it's not your mother tongue, but we still criticize them.
Now we have caliber of MPs. A lot of them, especially in the UDP, a lot of them are university graduates.
Well, I mean, precisely this parliamentary session has more educated parliamentarians than ever.
Yeah.
Than ever.
Because I know one or two who are my badmates at Gambia University, the first batch, you know. So yeah, I mean, we have.
When you look at it, the only thing you need to have is a secondary school certificate.
Yeah, that's
and what used to happen in the Fourth Republic, you just have to pass the literacy test.
Okay.
Yes. So you could be a secondary technical school graduate and still become an MP.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what happens in the Second Republic is a secondary school certificate. And most of them have acquired more than that.
And the Third Republic, I think what they're asking for now is grade 12?
Well, grade 12 is a secondary school certificate.
Yeah, I mean senior secondary school certificate.
Yes.
Yeah. Not junior secondary school. Now it's the requirement to senior secondary.
Now, in all fairness, it shouldn't be difficult for you to go to grade 12. Many years ago, there were limited high schools.
Yeah.
So going to high school was a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you go to high school, you can see that yes, he went to high school. He was well taught. But these days, we had
some people who went to the secondary school and they are very, very well educated.
I mean, the person speaking to you now is a secondary school graduate, which yes, I take no. I am very proud.
Yeah, you went to Crab Island too, did you?
I went to St. Augustine Secondary Technical School, what they call Schoolie Pajuf.
Okay.
I went there and then I went to St. Augustine's, and I am so proud of myself.
Absolutely.
Yes. It's not where you are; it's where you ended.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is the whole things that happen. I went to Secondary Technical School. Some of the top lawyers that you see, top intellects that you see nowadays went to secondary technical school, did their secondary thought.
Yeah.
Yes, I wouldn't call names because they may not feel comfortable that they went to high school through the back way as they accuse us of. Yes, but I have no problem with it.
Yeah, no, even Adam Barrow himself. I mean, he went to Carolina.
Yeah, we all went to the back way, but that's it. It's how you end up at the back way. That's it.
I don't think it's the back way. I think because what happened was when you go to as you said, the limited places in high school meant that very few people could be admitted. And then I know somebody one of my classmates, Baima Sen, you know, he was unfortunately, he couldn't get in, unfortunately, but initially, and when he came afterwards, I think somebody got pregnant and he had to come in. You know, he was beating all of us. And our class was like scholarship match class G, you know, the highest in the grade. And Baima came there. We thought, okay, this guy came and he was like struggling to get in. But then he started beating everybody because it's like he missed his first chance, and then afterwards it's like, okay, these people don't know what they got, you know, let me show them what they got, what I got, you know. So yeah, sorry, yo, I can't hear you.
Yeah, so that was what happened.
Yeah.
The party built up from where he left, and when Ismail Assambu was the Minister for Interior. That was around after 2011 elections, or just before the 2011 elections.
Yeah.
He made it difficult for UDP to have rallies.
Really?
He kept saying that it was national security, breach of national security. And then we went for a very long process of which we were not allowed to have rallies.
And they did all this with leveling UDP, certain things in
Well, I mean, it was a continuous affair.
Yeah.
They tried so many things. They tried to implicate us in everything. They implicated us in the visa scam. Some people even say they even tried to implicate us with drugs, but it never materialized because the party were very cautious that they were trying to do as much as they can to weaken UDP's base.
So when they use violence, they started slandering, name calling us party of Mandinkas, party of party of insults.
well, Jame was good at that.
Yeah.
And that's why I always say to people, we should not fall into trap what Jame did. That's the same thing that Adama Barrow is doing. Jame was good
trying to do, yeah.
Yes, but once you leave UDP and join APRC, you are an angel in them.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you see somebody like Rambo Jatta.
Yeah.
Usman Rambo Jatta. He was detained for almost 1 year.
Exactly.
And he was left at Sarangai police station.
Yeah.
And he was a thorn in the flesh for them. And they hated him. And they released him. And within 2 years, he went and joined APRC.
Yeah.
Under the pretext, if you can't beat them, join them.
Join them, yeah. And they started giving him our government properties like boats, the Navy boats for fishing. So he was just being corrupted. I mean,
yes, that's it.
That's why they call him to the commission.
Yes. Somebody like Lamin Juara went and joined APRC.
Absolutely. That one, I cannot believe that.
Well, I mean, Lamin Juara, if anybody, it's sad that when we did our speech, 25th anniversary, because of him leaving the party, not much can be said about what he did. But Lamin Juara was a very effective organizing secretary.
Absolutely.
Lamin Juara was able to send the message out.
Yeah.
And he did it properly.
Yeah. That's why we call him in Nyamin Mbarodi.
Mbarodi. Yes. I used to enjoy Lamin Juara on the political platform.
Yeah.
And I can still remember when Lamin Juara was formally accepted as a UDP member. It was a rally that was held in Serakunda, for which he came, he had a blue halftan on, and he was formally accepted. And his speech at that time was top of the range. When he talked about Sajakat Lurite Sajakat, and that he was referring to the Ibu Jallo scandal and all that stuff. And he talked about the death of Kolosisi. And he was very vocal.
Yeah, very fierce.
Very fierce. He feared no one. Unfortunately, it's politics because Wajuara has a checkered history of not being a maverick.
Yeah.
Because Wajuara is the only person that's joined almost 4 political parties. Yes. PPP, NCP, NAD.
Maybe not NAD, APRC as well.
He joined all the political parties.
So, but him joining APRC, that was shocking to me, man.
Well, it was shocking because this is a man that was convicted.
Yeah.
Maybe. The man that was convicted.
No, but because then he had joined them and then they enticed him with positions and they implicated him. I mean, it was the same with even Sirtiba. They corrupted you, entice you with positions, and then afterwards, convict you. These people are wicked, man.
Well, I mean, this is what happens. This is politics for you. This is what happened. And there we go. We lost so many people that defected. Some of them are no longer alive. May they so rest in peace. The likes of Aja Safindao, who was a very prominent Yai campaign who left UDP after the 2001 presidential elections. We lost the likes of this Bolong Sonko, who left UDP and resigned from UDP.
Bolong Sonko, okay.
Yes, Bolong Sonko was a potential foreign affairs minister for UDP if UDP had won the election, because he was a foreign affairs minister under the AFP regime. Yes. Okay. So we've had disappointments as we went on.
Yeah.
But it didn't stop the party, it didn't stop the supporters, people to be resolute. And this is where UDP, so you can call it the struggle.
Yeah.
Because we got to understand that at one time, Aji Safi, Aji Yam Seka took over from Yaya Jallo. And Yaya Jallo sit back, but he was still a member of the party, but he just sit back and let Aji Yam took over.
Yeah.
And that shows the diversity of the party, because we made sure that ever since the leader of the party and the vice chair of the party, deputy leader of the party, do not belong to the same ethnic group.
Absolutely. That was that.
So nobody can accuse us of
being a Mandinka party.
Well, it is a very cheap and unfortunate accusation that people make. I mean, I've always said it, that you have to be part of the system to change it.
Yeah.
You cannot be sitting down and say, oh, this party is this, and then you don't get involved.
Yeah, and if it's really a party that will listen to you and take you on board what suggestions you have. I don't understand when people say, why should I join this party?
Well,
they don't have this, they don't have this. Come on board and give it to us if you don't have it.
Well, Kenya,
integrity and there's decency in UDP. There is.
Kenya, look at the Tory party in England. Many years ago, it was a no-go area for minorities.
Exactly.
But now when you look at the minorities that are holding the finance minister, the chancellor of the exchequer is
it's a minority,
It's a minority.
Yeah. And it's like number two, the most powerful
secretary. The Home Secretary, which used to be a no-go area.
Yeah, exactly. It's another minority. Yeah.
It's a minority.
Yeah.
And then you have the minister for the other minister is a minority.
Absolutely.
So you
looks like they even have more minorities than Labour.
Well, I mean, you're right to say so.
Yeah, because only number two man.
But, I mean,
the Chancellor of Exchequer is the number two man.
Yes,
one most important person, and he's a young Asian guy.
Yes. So this is what we should be looking in Gambia's political context, especially UDP.
Yeah.
Come and join the party and show what you want.
Absolutely.
Don't sit outside and start saying, "Oh, I'm not joining this party because it's a Mandinka party. They won't accept me." And by doing so, you're just abdicating responsibility.
Absolutely.
So these are the things that we've been saying for so long. Yes. So as I may say in English, I'm the explain for now how the party stand, how we left from where we start. I talk about when Wajuara joined the party, when Bolong Sonko them left, Aji Yam Seka became the deputy leader. How the party continue the struggle, even though it not make easy. Because in get some time them where say we get rally permit safe na problem. If I tell you say me big uncle Femi Peters, and I make them in Lockham in 2009. But Femi Peters and I may be the campaign manager at the time. When they want to get meeting in Serekunda, they go ask for permit. They want to forget and permit. They say the election, the rally must go ahead. So when they go ahead, they catch them, then lock them for 8 months, and make it for pay a fine of $1,000. And that's what may happen. Some people like Femi Peters, them always there. Now we won't fumble. We still there on being defiant. You know me free nothing. May God get and cold and may God bless them for all the good work he do for the party.
Amen.
But I don't want actually all of my man don't want to party B. But you be door not be dugachi the watan birim nga xamne dañ sonon ci parti bi amna kenn ko xamne bayna parti bi bayona parti bi way ben tay fuk ñu wax mbiram moy Lamine Wajuara waxna ba jamono bu mo bokk parti bi rali bu mu bokkon gaay yépp gërëm ko bokk parti wax naa nag ne am na keneen koo xam ne ñu nga xam ne UDP wax nañu ñu bàyyoon nañ ko nga xam ne ñu ko ooyee bolok sokko wax naa mbirim aji yam naka lay aji yam nekk deputy leader deputy leader bi woon kii la woon Yaya Jallow ne dafa may keneen aji yam ñu jël soo ko seetee nag nga gis ne parti bi niñ ko defee niñ ko daan defee mooy leader ak deputy jóge ci benn xeet di nga seet ne di buñ amee UDP Ousainou Darboe nekk na leader waaye député nekkul soose loolu woon na ne parti pour ñun ñëpp la waaye soo ko seetee nag lu ma daan wax mooy wax naa ne soo foogee ne parti bi dafa nekk parti boo xam ne dafa tribaliste yaa ko tribaliste parce que da ngaa bokka nga def sa warugal ne UDP nag tëjuñ bunta pour kenn da ngaa ñëw nga bokka nga def sa liggéey ñu ràññee la ñu jox la place su nekkee ne yaa ko war a am soo ko seetee nag am na ñu bari ñu nga xam ne def nañ soo seetee bitim réew buñ nekk fii Angleterre fii amoon na jamono boo xam ne ñu nga xam ne ñu ngi leen di ooyee minorities daan jegeen parti bu ñoo oo Tory parti waaye tey soo demee ngi Tory parti bi ñena nekk immigration bokku ci minorities la jógee kana nekk ci mbirim koom-koom bi minorities la jógee so daf laa woon ne understand nga ne soo duggee ci parti bente mun nga def dara te ñun ñu nekk minorities waru ñu toog di dégg ñi wane lii parti soose la da ngaa bokk nga liggéey nga ñu ràññee la ñu óolu la ñu jox la place so over to you Kejaw.
Yeah, Mr. Goswell, those are very important points. Yo, akamen fo nungolom komen ko yalon so birim bota nang atoro 2001 2006 ma fangola kay tande mo jamal miliyalon ko ya kata patiyo sai mantaraje wajuara nyol sifalo ay fami pita fanana kumo ko wato men na iba nambarala iba tonyin kan ya soron ko kari sai after ya fine I will be a jambaria fole and nga même fanam fo wolom ko patio manke ya jalo lam num de petit parti ti wala do Ousainou Darboe noma num bring abota je yam sekanata je so mak patio le me alon ko manke ko man din ka patio lam so ni nata patio nyin kono yeddo ko okay ya kata latela be place so sikala ya dila e banko sambala nyame ako jampanan na jampon be damen sain tempon wala foko membe na conservative wala membe man sakunda sain nundo ko wala ko birin to ben nanu jang kamen fo wala ko ñu conservative party de malak lim tan wala tije bari bini sain ten membe je la sa ko le number no tout pass no ni men marka ko do ni fanko ku nyaawa o mu sulale to asianolati ila home office fana men ka immigration o tamandi men ka police ol ni security fenko fana mu sulalati ani mo jamal fana mo na indianol ani mo jamal bije so ni wala mo ke alga mol encourage na continue ka diamu mole kay tande ko alnanam patio kan ni tenata e be siri ba fala ko tel man sia mandin ko le tam pati di to le siata ate buka banko nafa kam men ka nafa wolam ko ba kata le yena e join patio kan ite ni la ideal ni la hamme ko yena ya ite di patio le be la moy le moy Mr. Goswell ya ko janne fana ande ngamoy nende patoro oliwada fana ba fo kan last time ala program so yeah, so thank you very much Mr. Goswell. I think we can go on to, I think we've got about 20 minutes or so, 18 minutes before 9 o'clock. So we can go on and talk about the 5-point agenda quickly, since we seem to have, quickly gone through the rest of part 2 of the history. So I think it's important as we believe that the 5-point agenda is a game changer. You know,
without a shadow of doubt. We
thank you.
have been accused that we don't have an agenda.
Yeah.
Well, I have always refuted those allegations because I have dossier of information from the bottom box
Yeah.
about UDP's policies and plans for the Gambia.
Yeah.
And we have already demonstrated them at local government level. Let's look at the way UDP are operating at the local government level.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a testimony of what our mayors have been nurtured with over the years. Now, going to the agenda is five-point agenda supported by the manifesto. And the agenda, the fourth agenda one is youth employment and empowerment schemes. Now, it says that create a conducive environment, setting the right framework and facilitating collaboration with the private sector to ensure our youth obtain the right skills leading to their increased employability and or business acumen. Now you need to look at the situation at the moment.
Yeah.
There's no country. If Usaino Dabo if UDP had come out saying that they're going to create jobs, no government can say I'm going to create jobs.
No.
Government can only create an atmosphere that is conducive so that there could be investment and so that jobs could be created through the private sector. Now, we're looking at our youth. Yesterday, I had Esafal giving his interview with Kerfat when he talks about the youth employment. He talks about the vulnerability of the youths leaving school without trade. Now, let me give you a synopsis of all this. When we were young, we were made to believe that when you go to a secondary technical school, you will learn a skill.
Yeah.
When you learn a skill, you end up becoming, so what will happen is that when you go to a secondary technical school, and you were supposed to do, apart from doing the English, maths, geography, civics, French, health, general science. In addition to that, you had to do agricultural science, woodwork, metalwork, cookery, or needlework. Yeah. Now, I went to a secondary school where such opportunity did not arise. So technically, I did not go to a secondary technical school.
No, you went to secondary school.
Yes, because I did not do woodwork, I did not do metalwork, and I did not agricultural science because the school building was very small. Now, people will leave that school without a skill for the technical industry. Now, what we have is youths are leaving school without jobs, and you want to make them entrepreneurship. Now, you either go to what was called the National Vocational Center, VTC, which was situated behind Muslim High School. And if you're fortunate, you go to GTCI, and then you go and do your City and Guilds, or you go and do your HND. And from there, if you're fortunate again, you can come to UK or somewhere else to do your BTech, HND or HNC. Now, youths are leaving schools without jobs. Now, if you look, the reason why I support this idea is this. In 1987, when the educational program was reviewed, I attended as a young lad. And the whole idea was, you go up to grade 9, you learn a skill. And if you got that skill, you can either take up that skill in the technical side, or you can proceed to grade 10, 11, 12, and do your grade 12. That was what it was supposed to be. But unfortunately, that never happened. So most of these students finishing grade 9 don't have a skill. their employability becomes very difficult. They don't think about anything else. They think about how they have to sustain their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And some come up with unorthodox means of how to survive. Some take the back way because Europe is now a fortress.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are not being motivated to get involved in empowerment schemes. So this agenda in itself is very much useful and something which I really support.
Absolutely.
Because it says that it will support 10 specialized skill centers.
Yeah, across the country.
So when you have 10 specialist skill centers, you can have somebody involved in welding, carpentry, masonry, mechanic, and all that
information
stuff.
Technology and
information technology, yes. And
yeah.
I'm sure you'll be very useful with that one because you're an IT wizard. You understand? Yeah. So that will be very good.
Yeah.
You have skill centers. I've been saying this for a very long time, and I think this really helped me.
Mm-hmm.
Then he talks about a youth empowerment fund.
Yeah.
Now, I've always said this, that there's no need taking somebody to GTI. He learns a trade, he finishes, and he hasn't got a job.
Yeah.
So somebody who's gone there, he's did welding, he knows how to do welding, and he hasn't got a job.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what you do is you try to empower him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know how old you were, but we used to have the Indigenous Business Advisory Services called IBAS,
Mm-hmm.
which used to give soft loans to people to engage in business.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm expecting the UDP government, if they haven't thought about it, try to revisit, look at the IBAS scheme that was in practice, but making it a much more program orientated.
Yeah, I think that's the idea.
You give somebody a loan, you manage the loan.
You will train them to be entrepreneurs.
Yes. So what happens if somebody 10,000, he gives you his returns of what he's done with it, how he's invested it, and if you impress, you give him more. You see, it becomes sort of whereby, and you see that he's able to pay back what he's given, and it becomes very effective. Now, this is something which is really operating in Nigeria under the scheme called YES. So it's something which I really support.
Yeah.
The other bit it talks about is awarding contracts. Yes, I totally agree. I mean, we have a youth population that we can tap into, give them contracts for them to do some of our jobs. I mean, we talk about the building industry. I mean, if we do it in such a way whereby these youths are involved in construction and building, then it becomes very, very easy. It's not about youth, it's not about exploitation of the youth.
I hear you. You're mute.
Main gist of this program. The other bit is, which I have to say, is investment in agriculture.
Yeah.
I've got to be very harsh with you, Kejao. Most of my Kafo boys wouldn't want to go back and do farming, you know.
Not if we give them technology, high tech equipment to do farming. We give them power tillers, we give them tractors, we even give them drones to drive away pests. I mean, everybody will want to come because you're not going to hold the war and we're going to give them equipment. We're going to give them, high tech, good knowledge about how to do agriculture without breaking your back, And they're saying they're going to zone the area. They're not saying they're going to make Banjul an agricultural area. They're saying they're going to make places like Nyamina, places like CRR, rice farming. So youth in people like us there, I'm going to go back to Nyamina and be a farmer.
Well, can I have a piece of land then?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're welcome. Yeah, I mean, that's what I said last time. I said, we have people who come from Guinea, and they come and we give them land free of charge. We give them a land to build a house and we give them land for farming. So what about if you're from Gambia? We're not going to ask you to come and then we give you land so that you can sell the land. No, we're not going to do that. But if you're going to live on it, if you're going to farm on it, we're going to give you so much plenty land, especially rice fields. We've got so much rice fields. I think what is happening, the scarcity in land is the farming part. Even that one. Every year I ask my people, I say, we've got loads of land. Can I have a place to farm? They're always telling me, you are late. We gave it to some other people, who don't have farms to farm on. So it's first come, first serve there when it comes to the farm. But the rice field is there, it's plenty, it's too much. Nobody's looking at it again. So when we have power tillers, we have tractors, they can farm on this and all these equipments now, they have they have weeders, they have, showers. So the only thing you have to learn to do is how to drive a tractor, how to do those kind of things, just like in the Western world. So yeah, agriculture, we have to, food sufficiency is very important in the nation. And the next point is health. But when you have food sufficiency, when people can feed themselves, instead of sort of importing every little thing, we are going to get there as a nation. Can you imagine when we have our rice, our potatoes, our oil, and everything from our country? What else are we going to need? What else will we need from outside? The price of goods, the price of essential goods, foodstuff will come down. And I predict that even in the first year of UDP government, we will bring down the price of rice to half of what it is now. We're going to bring down price of vegetables. We're going to build cold stores almost everywhere. So people will come farming. If you don't know how to farm, then you can go and learn carpentry or be a mechanic or be a painter or whatever trade you want to learn. IT, ICT, because what are they going to do? If you look at the fourth part, they're going to digitalize almost everything, the whole country, the whole economy will be digitalized. We have e-government that is coming up. We have, so we will need a lot of ICT professionals, programmers, designers, web developers, machine learning experts, everything. We're not going to give it out to Kenyan people to come. We're going to train our youths into these things. And that's why we're going to start now. That's why I'm not even going to wait for UDP government to win before I go back home to start, this kind of thing. Because, we're going to work with it's going to be a PPP, private-public partnership, and we're going to, when you digitalize everything, we will have jobs for our people. If you are a programmer, you will have a job to build systems. If you are a web developer, you will have jobs to build systems. And these things don't take time. 3 months, you are finished. You are well trained. You know how to do this kind of things. And you are going to get more money than someone who is living in Spain at the back way, trying to live, catch his living, get his living. You're going to get more more money than those people. You can even stay in the Gambia and work for someone in UK, and so this is the things that I think the digitalization part, both the infrastructure and the skills training is so vital, because we have some people who don't want to be and everybody don't want to be a farmer. We understand that some people don't know anything about farming. They think it's too difficult, but people like me, I'm a farmer, I'm going to go. I'm going to use technology on farms, but, we are going to train our youths in ICT, because digitalization will be big in the UDP government. We want to curb the waste. We have so much waste that is in the that is right now in our system. You have even way of paying taxes. We are going to digitalize everything. Nobody is going to be able to steal our money again. It's going to be so much. It's going to be, you are not going to leave Nyamina and say, I'm going to look for a passport in Banjul. No, you're going to sit in Nyamina, apply for your passport, and it comes to your door. So everybody will be, there's no room for wasting. There is going to be, so it's going to be, I think we're going to transform Gambia. We just need people, who are committed people to go back home around this time. You don't even have to go back home. You can sit in Europe and help us develop this kind of things. I know people like Mr. Goswell don't want to live their their cozy life in but it's about
I beg your pardon. I'm going to Jara Sankuya. If you don't mind, I'm going Jara Sankuya. Whether you
exactly.
like it or not, Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I think we can wrap up, and then next week we can go on continue
Yes.
with
So
the
the last bit before I wrap up is about
health.
you talk about youth. No, it's still on the agenda one. It talks about opportunities for women to engage in meaningful employment.
Yeah,
That's a very good idea. I mean, when I was young, students that leave secondary school, especially our girls, didn't have meaningful employment.
Yeah.
And the Catholics had one school of the presentation where our young girls were taught how to do typing, shorthand and all that stuff. And that's something which did help a lot of people that were not able to go to high schools. And they were able to seek employment at the earliest opportunity, becoming secretaries, clerks, and all that stuff. They start doing the Pitman's exam, and from there they left the school of presentation. They started going to GTTI, and the rest is history. But these are situations that UDP want to talk about.
Yeah.
Making meaningful employment.
Absolutely.
When you look at it today, our women should not be confined to the house as housewife.
No, it's a waste. No.
Making them empowered, and this is something which I believe Rohilo has already set the pace up in Banjul by giving them soft loans, making them involved in business, in this tie and dye trade, and what they say in Wall of Troop. They're doing this business, going to Guinea-Bissau, going to Senegal, and doing their own self-reliance programs. Which has really helped them. Because as I always echoed, the government cannot create jobs. It can only make the atmosphere conducive.
Absolutely.
So this is agenda 1. Next week we'll go to agenda 2. Next week we'll focus on the agenda and the manifesto. We've gone through the history in a nutshell. I mean, apologies if I've missed anything because it's quite detailed. If I want to talk about the history, time will. I mean, in all fairness, this is the history of the party. I'm not saying that I have all the answers to the history.
No.
I know, little that I followed, I'm ready to share it with Gambians. And I think if I've said anything which is inaccurate, I should be corrected. I do not come here thinking that I know all. Because history is a different way. It's a philosophy of its own. People can interpret it differently.
Absolutely.
Interpret it differently. So on that note, I'm always grateful to be on your program. And hopefully next week, we will go into agenda 2, 3, and go into the manifesto. Coming week, we'll go to 4 and 5, continue the manifesto. So in the next 3 weeks, we want to go through the manifesto and the programs that UDP wants. What are they talk say now? Napotelna say we don't talk about USA UDP start and USA UDP day today. We didn't talk in English, not history. But as I say, I know we come here thinking I may get all the answers. Not only one no more follow the story. Other people then follow, they get their own interpretation. Anything we are saying, where people not agree with, they can still contact me or contact Kija. All they just share knowledge of within they are. We not come here for say we sabi all. But what we sabi, what do you think say we sabi, now we they share with you. What do not think say una sabi, una tell me. No matter what you all of my si aku my imba last week we don't want birim fan la UDP dore te fan la nek tay te dem na ci place wax len birim ñom parti bi ak parti bi fan la taxaw tay te luma wax su nekkee ne àndu leen si foogu leen ne luma wax yu dëgg la benn tey mun ngeen ñoo eeda wax ñu ne lii moo xew waaye ñun si luñ xam te luñ xam mun leen a wax loolu nag mooy dañ ñëw a yéen ñu waxtaan ñooñu pour ñëw leen ne dañoo ñëw jaay leen ne lii xewoon teg ci nag bañ ci waxee ba pare ñu ne dañoo war lan la parti bi pare def lu ñoo oo 5 point agenda 5 point agenda bi mooy lu nga xam ne su UDP ñëwee loolu la ñoo njëkkaa def mu ne bala ñoo xalaat ne kii moo war a nekkali kii moo nekkali ñu ne waaw agenda bi te agenda boobu nag dañ ci taxaw ne UDP su ñëwee suñ ko deful yéen a ne yéen a waxoon yéen ay waxeet ngeen ne 5 point agenda bi lañ doon di waxtaan ak yéen te luñ wax fii mooy mbirim ndaw yi jox leen doole jox leen liggéey woon ne naka la ñoo mun a am liggéey nguur nag mënut a jox ku nekk liggéey waaye mun naa yaatal béréb bi mun naa def béréb bi kii naa lu tubaab ne conducive nga xam ne am na ñeneen ñuy mun a ñëw indi seen xaalis invest employment ñu wax nañ ne dinañ am ay lu nga xam ne ñu ko skill centers yoo xam ne dañ ko am ca biir dëkk bi Banjul be koy na ca gox yi nañ ko fa am ñoo xam ne ñi dañ jàng ay métier lu nga xam ne dafa tane su gaay génnee dinañ mun a liggéey toujours ñu ngi wax ne sénégalais ñoo nekk ñaawkat ñi ñoo nekk maçon suñ gaay duñ dee liggéey ñu ngi toog naan ataaya di xalaat bàkkuwe ñu ne léegi nag dañu leen a sos toppatool skill centers wax nañ ne ndaw yi dañoo bàyyi si seen jànga yi ba pare métier ba pare amuñ lu ñu naa dimbale pour ñu am seen business ñu ne nag dañ leen dépassé ay xaalis boo xam ne dafa nekk bor boo xam ne dañ koo jël di liggéey moom di def seen investment ba pare di delloowaat xaalis bi si nguur gi ñu seet naka ngeen a def ba ngeen am seen doole mun a taawal seen bopp ba pare war nañ ci mbirim agriculture ne mbirim mbéy bi ñu gis nañ ne xam nga ndaw yi ñu dee bugg a ci mbirim mbéy di ñeneen dañ foog ne yu ñoo implement si ñoo use dafa outdated léegi nag ñu ne ñun dinañ gën a easy pour gars mun a bokk gën a liggéey gën a am seen own ways of involved in the agriculture wax nañ affaire yi jigéen yi ñeneen jigéen yi man maa dem school na jigéen ñoo bàyyi school amuñ liggéey toog nag ba ma ut jëkkër sëy toog ci kër gi léegi nag ñu ne déedéet dañoo foog ñu jox jigéen yi seen jox leen doole te am na kenn ku nga ne doole di ko def mooy Rohi Malik Loum di leen jox ay boor yu ndaw gars yi di sampal seen bopp am seen business di dugga fii dem fale dem jënda bagage ñëw di jaay nekk ay jula loolu lañ bëgg waaye waxtaan bi nag fii la moo em ba next week so léegi nag maa ngi leen a hand over to Kejaw jërëjëf
jërëjëf baraka thank you very much Mr. Goswell. So akamen fonun nka follow num ko agenda sainga history do mandim follow anu ma belong history belong man time o fanan sort of pour kata detail be to bari kuma jama le fo UDP sort of nyamen ani UDP labanta abe nyamen sign thing challenges ñol fo mol men yakata mol men borta je mol men lafata je andina na abe kafuta nyame wala ka ko UDP parti yedi me yalon ko mo Gambia bella parti o mo sio bella bije mo adama dum bella bije bo to nata ko agenda mel nati 5 point agenda ni no fanan discourse follow wolon ko ka karam ka dinniwolu na funding ke wolu sembentu ya ko dindingol sembentu di kare ko ka karam mo banne ma ko do ko so no ka tas ko ma silo la UDP masakunda be wala falina wala point follow ti te do ko dino la mo bela te mo betano la masakunda do ko la parin se be siloi tandile la le kaddo ko ke be do ko stola nyamen andum ni ala sonta man sakunda fongo be tala do ko laal min na le dinne fondin ke woli te soto nola tato be metti karam le lola metti karam bun tang dambia kono mechol di la mechol melia lonko ni pareta do ko la drong ibe do ko soto nola le wala ye do ko create kabo me alon ko metti different wono le ko do fawn ni nale ni metti karang i pareta ila peddo ko kele faye na ko do sika nga dilan ko ni krandi ba ko do man illa nyame ba kala nyame business ko kala nyame ni pareta da do ko ke faye ni me malla fi ko no la ila peddo ko la ni nga sino tan dila ni masakuna anin business o le do ko ke kay tan dila andu nga même fanam fo wala ko bala masakuna be do ko le commence la do ko me alon ko bebe kala komen ka masakunda teda o foi mo jamal ni me alon ko be skills no le ni la skills no me alon ko o man soto sign na gambia kono wala digital skills jamal bi jele so wol be mu kuleti me alon ko UDP paretale ka gambia falling ka falling ka system o ni falling so ka même fodro wala ko ni nata ko tenke de continuer la ka nyin diam wol continuer ka ra point flan nyaw do point saba nyaw do ka point nani nyaw da ni lulu nyaw da ni kata fo manifesto de nyame yo ala baraka ala mari ala mana to beti mandila ala ma jariten ba fala ko view UDP yes, so thank you very much viewers. I think we can call it off here. Mr. Goswell is gone away, so yeah, we will see you next week, God willing, at the same time, 7 o'clock with our show. Thank you guys.
Thank you very much. All the best. See you.
Okay.
See you next week. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye bye.